Yoga ātishtha-uttishtha Bharata. This is from today's verse, shloka that we're going to do from the Gita. It's Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, shloka 42. I have been doing these videos where I've been looking at a single verse and about 18 to 20 different translations of that verse, just to see all the differences of the variation in the translations, also to get at what is the issue with the shloka. There's usually at least one, maybe two or three translator issues, that are problematic for a translator. I've been working on this translation of the Gita. It's almost on Amazon. It might be on by tomorrow. The Kindle version is already on Amazon. The softcover version will be probably on by tomorrow. I am still editing it actually, and I'm gonna re-upload it to Kindle. But it's pretty good as it is, but it still needs a little fine-tuning. And I'm sure I'm going to feel that way, in years to come too. I'll keep editing it over the years, and try to make it the best I can possibly make it. Anyway, let's read the verse for today, 442, and then we're gonna go through all the different translations. Okay, so tasmād ajñāna-sambhūtaṁ hṛit-sthaṁ jñāna-asinātmana chhittvainaṁ sanśhayaṁ yogam ātishtha-uttisha Bharata. All right, we'll go through it. Therefore, having cut away tasmāt chhittvā with your sword of knowledge, jñāna-asinātmana, this doubt, enaṁ sanśhaya, born of ignorance, ajñāna-sambhūta, that abides in your heart, hṛit-stha, resort to yoga and arise, yoga ātishtha-uttishtha, O Arjuna, son of Bharata, and the word is Bharata, right? This is an epithet of Arjuna. This is a nickname, Bharata, the son of Bharata. There's many epithets of Krishna and Arjuna that are used in the Gita. This is one of them that's used a lot. All right, so therefore having cut away, tasmāt chhittvā, with your own sword of knowledge, jñāna-asinātmana. Atmana would be your own, like your self sword of knowledge. It's a very beautiful image, actually, right? Cutting away, removing the doubt, removing the uncertainty, removing what is in the way, removing what is unreal, what is false. So removing, in this case, this doubt, enaṁ sanśhaya, born of ignorance, ajñāna-sambhūta, that abides in your heart, hṛit-stha. Resort to yoga ātishtha, and arise, ātishtha, O Arjuna, son of Bharata. Now, is that the best translation? I think one of the problematic things here is yoga ātishtha and uttishtha. What does it mean? What does yoga ātishtha mean? What is the best translation of that? I have resort to yoga. Uttishtha is generally understood to be arise, get up, stand up. Like the Bob Marley saying, get up, stand up, right? Resort to yoga and arise. And what does the arise mean? If you translate it that as arise or stand up or get up, what is Krishna really urging Arjuna to do? Is he urging him to fight? Is that what he means by arise? Or is he just saying you're going to rise up through the power of yoga, right? You're going to remove your doubt, and that's going to uplift you. Remove the doubt. How to remove the doubt. All right. This verse is actually not really problematic, too problematic. It's pretty straightforward. But let's see. All right. So Winthrop Sargent has, let me just put his name here, Winthrop Sargent, who I used his translation to do my own, mainly. I took him as the gold standard. I believe he's the gold standard. And I really relied a lot on him. So he has, therefore, having cut away with your own sort of knowledge, same as what I have, this doubt that proceeds from ignorance. He has proceeds, I have born of ignorance. Same difference. And abides in your heart. Right, he has and abides in your heart. I have that abides in your heart. Same difference. Resort to yoga. I have resort to yoga. Stand up, Arjuna. He has resort to yoga, exclamation point, stand up, Arjuna. Maybe I didn't get his full thing there, but he probably has two explanation points. Resort to yoga, explanation point, stand up, Arjuna, exclamation point. I just have one exclamation point. I have resort to yoga and arise, O Arjuna, son of Bharata. All right. We'll see what other people say, right? Therefore, Swami Shivananda, therefore with the sword of knowledge of the self, and he has in parentheses of the self, cut asunder the doubt of the self born of ignorance. Now, so he has sword of knowledge. He doesn't have your own sword of knowledge. He has sword of knowledge of the self, but he puts it in parentheses. I don't know why he does that, because it's not in parentheses in the text, but it's a good translation, I believe. You know, I don't know if own sword of knowledge is the best translation there. The sword of the self maybe is better translation. So therefore, with the sword of knowledge, therefore, with the sword of knowledge of the self, cut asunder the doubt of the self born of ignorance, residing in thy heart, and take refuge in yoga. Arise, O Arjuna. So he has take refuge. He doesn't have resort. Maybe refuge is better, because a lot of people don't understand what resort means. Like they think of a resort, staying at a resort. Arise, O Arjuna. Now, I have cut away, Winthrop Sargent has cut away, but this phrasing of cut asunder is nice. It's kind of biblical, but we're going to hear that cut asunder a lot. So people are using that, maybe they're borrowing from each other, like Swami Nikhilananda is next, and he has, therefore, with the sort of knowledge, cut asunder this doubt about the self. So he has this doubt about the self, born of ignorance and residing in your heart. And devote yourself to yoga. He doesn't have resort. He doesn't have take refuge. He has devote yourself to yoga. Arise, O Bharata. So he has cut asunder. He's probably borrowing from Shivananda or someone else or whoever Shivananda was borrowing from or relying on. Born of ignorance and residing in your heart. And devote yourself to yoga. Arise. Right, Swami Nikhilananda. Radha Krishnan is next. Therefore, having cut asunder, so he has cut asunder too, with the sword of wisdom, he has wisdom instead of knowledge. This doubt in thy heart that is born of ignorance, so the thy in thy heart. Maybe that is his translation of atmana here. Because he doesn't have a translation. He doesn't have a translation of atmana, except maybe thy heart, right? He understands this doubt in thy heart that is born of ignorance. Resort to yoga, so he has resort to yoga, and stand up, O Bharata. Right, stand up. Winthrop Sargent has stand up. I used arise. Shivananda has arise. Nikhilananda has arise, but Radhakrishna has stand up. Swami Gambhīrananda, therefore, O scion of the Bharata dynasty, practice yoga and rise up. So he's changing the word order. So he has practice yoga. He doesn't have devote yourself to yoga. He doesn't have resort. He doesn't have take refuge. He has practice yoga and rise up, cutting asunder with the sword of self-knowledge. this doubt of yours residing in the heart, arising from ignorance. So the sword of self-knowledge, that might be the best translation yet. I like that. Sword of self-knowledge, I might use that. We'll see what other people have. But I like that the best so far. The sword of self-knowledge. Swami Atmananda, therefore Arjuna, cut with this sword of knowledge the ignorance that abides in your heart. Get rid of doubt and confusion. It doesn't have confusion, but stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. He doesn't have anything about resort to yoga. He doesn't have anything about yoga there. So I'm not sure if this is the best translation. He's adding some things, kind of taking a few liberties which are not really, I mean, it's all good. I'm going to put this on because it's getting a little wet and cold here. So maybe this is not the best translation, Swami Atmananda. But it's not bad. You know, he's got more or less everything there. Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood have an interesting one. Where is your sword, discrimination? Draw it and slash delusion to pieces. Then arise, O son of Bharata. Take your stand in karma yoga. This is very free translation. This is a very taking great poetic license. It's nice. It's nice. But if you're looking for a more exact translation, this is not it. Definitely doesn't say karma yoga. That is an interpretation, because he might just as well say jnana yoga, or actually the term jnana yoga I don't believe is used in the Gita. It uses the term buddhi yoga. So he could have used buddhi yoga. He could have used bhakti yoga, karma yoga. So anyway, moving on. It's not bad, not bad. It's nice. It's poetic, and sometimes the poetic is stronger and has more effect, right? You do have to think about the reader, and the reader doesn't know Sanskrit generally, and you have to say what's going to have the biggest impact on the reader, right? What's going to have the most effect? What's going to sound the coolest? Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. Okay, it's good. It's basically got everything there. Except it doesn't have the atmana. It doesn't translate atmana here, which I think is, you need to translate that. Remember Swami Gambhirananda, he had self-knowledge, right? I like self-knowledge. You know, he could have said the weapon of self-knowledge, but he said the weapon of knowledge, or knowledge of the self. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. It's also good. He's using the terminology. What he's doing here is using the language of warfare, and he's turning it around, right? He's saying, let this be your arms. Your arms now is the sword of knowledge. Obviously, Arjuna uses a bow. He doesn't use a sword. But it's using the imagery of the sword, which is also used in the Gospels too, right? The sword is an interesting theme in the Gospels. So he's turning it around and using the sword as the inner sword of defeating the enemy within. All right. You know who I forgot? Let me look right now I forgot. I've got Jeffrey Armstrong. So let's look at what Jeffrey Armstrong has. He's got a really good translation. It's definitely a kind of a translation and a commentary together, although he says he's not doing a commentary, but it's kind of like that because he's adding a lot. He's filling out the verses generally. And so what does he have? He has, therefore, by the way, this is the last verse in the chapter. This is the very end of the chapter. Therefore, with the sword of divine knowledge, so he has divine knowledge for Atmana, and the skills of yoga, cut away the bonds of ignorance and the doubts that have occupied your heart. Ātishtha, quote, stand up, O Arjuna, stand strong as your true self, the Atma. Okay, it's good. It's good. He has divine knowledge, a sort of divine knowledge, but then he also uses Atma later, stand strong as your true self. So he's kind of doing the same thing. He's saying, this sword is the sword of knowledge of the self, the sword of the true self. Use that sword to eliminate your doubt and your born of ignorance. He's adding a few things. He's taking some liberty. That's fine. He's got, he's basically got it there. Biji Narasimha. Therefore, O Bharata, with the sword of knowledge, slash these doubts of yours that have arisen out of ignorance within your heart, taking shelter. So he has take shelter as opposed to take refuge or take resort or practice or devote. So taking shelter of the process of yoga, stand and fight. It doesn't say fight, right? It says stand. It doesn't say fight. But that he's understanding that to mean fight. Fight this battle or fight the inner enemy, the enemy within. It could be both, right? He doesn't translate Atmana, right? That's problematic, I think. I think you have to translate that. But it's okay. That's the only thing. That's maybe the problematic word in this verse. That's the main problematic word is Atmana. How do you translate that? Swami tadatmananda. Therefore, doubts born of ignorance in one's heart, with the sword of knowledge, severing those doubts, yoga you should practice. Arise, O Arjuna. Not the best. It's kind of like Yoda. His phrasing is kind of like yoga. He's like, with the sword of knowledge, severing those doubts, yoga you should practice. It's good. It's got everything there. Except he doesn't translate Atmana. But he's basically got everything. It's just the phrasing is a little weird. I'm going to move this. Everything's getting wet here. Try to finish this soon here. Sri Paroti Swami, therefore cleaving asunder with the sword of wisdom, the doubts of the heart, which thine own ignorance has engendered, follow the path of wisdom and arise. So he has follow the path of wisdom. Yes, and he's using wisdom for jnana. It's true, it's right. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's not yoga ātishtha is not necessarily follow the path of wisdom. Otherwise he would have said that, right? But, it's a paraphrase. It's a paraphrase. So, moving on. He has cleaving asunder as opposed to cut asunder, but he's using the word asunder again. A lot of people have used this word. Parama Karuna Devi, therefore, O Bharata, get up and fight. So she's changing the word order. Establishing yourself in yoga and using the sword of knowledge. So she has establishing yourself, right? As opposed to taking refuge or resorting to or dedicating yourself or devoting yourself. Establishing yourself in yoga and using the sword of knowledge to slash off all these doubts that were born from ignorance and are infesting the heart. Infesting is her addition, right? Get up and fight. It doesn't say fight, it says arise, right? It doesn't really say fight. So she seems to be, again, she's not translating atmana here, right? It's all good. It's all good. Mahadev Desai, who wrote the book The Gita according to Gandhi, this is his translation. Therefore, the sort of self-realization. So he's got self-realization, which is cool. You know, it's like Swami Gambhirananda, the sort of self-knowledge. Now, it doesn't say realization. That's the only problem. But at least he's addressing that word, right? Sever this doubt, bread of ignorance, which has crept into thy heart. That's an addition. That's his adding, poetic license. Betake thyself to yoga and arise, O Bharata. That's kind of biblical language, King Jamesian language. All right, pretty good. I like how we put the sort of self-realization, because he's taking into account that word, which is important, I think. Swami Mukundananda, therefore, with the sort of knowledge cut asunder. It's like Shivananda and Nikalananda, the cut asunder. The doubts that have arisen in your heart, O Skyana Bharata, establish yourself in karma yoga. So we've seen this before, that Prabhavananda and Isherwood also said karma yoga. Arise, stand up, and take action. He's adding a word there. He's adding take action. He's also not translating atmana. So also not the best translation, I don't think. All right. Therefore, BhagavadGita.org, therefore, O Arjuna, by the sort of transcendental knowledge. All right, so at least this is addressing atmana. He's using transcendental for atmana. Destroy these doubts of this. Oh, okay, and then he's saying, destroy these doubts of the self, born of ignorance. So he's also addressing it by saying, doubts of the self, born of ignorance, situated in the heart and taking shelter. So he has taking shelter for ātishtha, of the science of uniting individual consciousness with the ultimate consciousness, arise for battle. So they're translating yoga here as the science of uniting the individual consciousness with the ultimate consciousness. Not bad, right? It's got everything, and it's explaining what yoga is, yoga means. So it's not bad, actually. But it's a little bit wordy and a little bit, maybe doesn't read the there's something to be said for a translation that is precise, that is short and sweet. This is a little bit long and wordy. All right, but Google Translate. Therefore, what is born of ignorance is in the heart of the self by the sword of knowledge. Cutting off this doubt, practice yoga. Arise, O Arjuna. Therefore, what is born of ignorance is in the heart of the self. That's a little weird. I think Google Translate needs some work. It's not bad though. It's got basically everything, and it has practice yoga for ātishtha here, which is interesting that it translates practice yoga for yoga ātishtha. It has a rise, right, for uttishtha. And for Bharata, it translates O Arjuna. So almost done, bud. I'm almost done. I'll be right up.
Because I want to see Dino Park Ranger stuff, so I can be a park ranger instead.
Okay, bud. I'm gonna be right up.
I don't keep choosing, but this time I'm not gonna choose anything else for the park ranger thing.
All right, bud. I'm gonna come right up. Give me a second.
Be very quick.
I will.
Bring your phone too.
All right, we're gonna do this one. Gita Press, Jayadala Goyanka. He has therefore, Arjuna, slashing to pieces with the sword of wisdom this doubt in your heart, born of ignorance, establish yourself in karma yoga in the shape of even temperedness and stand up for the fight. in the shape of even-temperedness is not there. It's an addition. It's not a bad addition. It's just not there in the text. He also is not translating atmana. And I think you need to translate it. All right. Finally, we have Sir Edwin Arnold. Cut then a twain with the sword of wisdom, son of Bharata, this doubt that binds thy heartbeats. Cleave the bond born of thy ignorance. Be bold and wise. Give thyself to the field with me. Arise. All right. Poetic license at its best. He has a lot of it in there, but he's adding some things, as others have done too. It's nice. It's you know, I've mentioned this before about Sir Edwin Arnold, is that it's got the energy, it's got the, you know, it really rallies the troops, right? It's inspirational, and maybe that really works, you know, for the Gita, is lots of exclamation points, you know, like arise, stand up, fight the good fight. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Tasmād ajñāna-sambhūtaṁ hṛit-sthaṁ jñāna-asinātmana chhittvainaṁ sanśhayaṁ yogam ātiṣhṭhottiṣhṭha Bharata. So what I had was, therefore, having cut away with your own sort of knowledge. Now I'm going to change that, actually. I think with the sword knowledge of the self. Sword of self-knowledge. This doubt born of ignorance. Enaṁ sanśhaya, ajñāna-sambhūta, that abides in your heart, hṛit-stha, that stands in your heart, that abides in your heart. Resort to yoga and arise. Yoga ātishtha-uttishtha, O Arjuna, son of Bharata. Okay, I like resort to yoga because it's a little poetic, right? It's a little, you know, it's a little, yeah, it has the poetry there. Resort to yoga, you know, come to yoga. A lot of people wouldn't necessarily understand it, but it's okay. I might change it though. Well, I'll have to think about that a little bit more. And anyway, I hope this is helpful. Thanks for listening. If you did, if you did listen, why did you listen? But you might be as crazy as I am. But I hope we got a little bit clearer about this particular verse. And it's a lovely verse, and it's a beautiful way to end that chapter. And thank you so much for listening. We'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts. And as I've been ending, Hari Om Tat Sat, which means, the way I translate that is, God, ain't that the truth? See you soon.